How does it feel?
Like it's someone else's.
It isn't.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
That's why it's yours.
It's been a while since Sam Wilson was handed the shield at the end of Avengers Endgame, a passing of the baton as Steve Rogers' story concluded in the MCU, with what we all assumed was Sam Wilson's Captain America becoming a major pillar of the next phase, but sadly Marvel fumbled the bag a little bit by not utilizing him as well as they could have in more projects.
The terrorists only set us back a bit.
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
Is this nigga serious?
I mean, Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers quite literally fit the legal definition of a terrorist. They either killed or put innocents in harm's way for their political agenda.
Put your seatbelt on. Now.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
Worst case scenario, we kill the hostages. We're supposed to use them to negotiate.
To stop that vote. Either way, our message gets out to the world.
But hey, at least Anthony Mackie finally got his own movie he can show off to Tom Holland.
I need to watch this movie.
You haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming? I haven't seen the Falcon. Oh no, there isn't one. Sorry.
That's Harrison Ford. Tell Tom Holland I got fucking Harrison Ford. My bad. My crew hard. Get him, Harrison. Get him, dog.
The decision to move on from Steve Rogers has been met with some mixed reception. I'd imagine most casual audiences didn't mind, as Steve has been a major component of the Infinity Saga alongside Iron Man for almost a decade, so it seemed only natural due to the finality of Endgame. Some might not like the idea of Sam Wilson taking up the mantle of Captain America because they prefer if it was Bucky, or they don't like the idea of a Captain America who isn't Steve Rogers. Disliking Sam as Cap or not connecting with his character is one thing, but to bash Anthony Mackie for simply conveying what it actually means to be Captain America and stating he's problematic is just so silly to me. All of this is in relation to what Anthony Mackie said in an interview a while back on what Captain America represents as a character.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. This is kind of like an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid, all of us as actors, I believe, want to get back to that day before someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess in the tower, that kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day somebody told him, no, there are no dragons, that's not a sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was for me.
He is correct. Anthony Mackie said nothing wrong and hit the nail on the head on who Captain America is as a Marvel hero. And if you have a problem with that, then you never understood the significance of Captain America in the first place. For some reason, people kept misinterpreting his words as him being anti-American or something, when that's clearly not the case. A lot of the backlash I've seen regarding Anthony Mackie's comments stems from those anti-woke idiots who misconstrued any comment to cater to their garbage content, trying to paint it as woke garbage and that he doesn't understand Captain America at all.
In terms of the next Marvel Cinematic Universe film, Black Captain America or Captain African American, however you want to approach it.
What's wrong with you?
For the social justice crowd that you're trying to pander to. But listen, forget all the nonsense that he tried to spew after the fact. The fact that he says that Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think that the term America should be one of those representations, is absolutely insane. There's no justification for this whatsoever.
Jesus Christ, some of you unironically like watching these clowns?
I try to play ball with these ass clowns.
Hey jackass, I don't know if you're aware, but Captain America was never about representing the United States regardless of who's in authority, but rather he represents the American ideal and the American dream. It was never just about representing the country itself. Captain America has always represented what America should be. It doesn't matter if your only exposure to Captain America is via the MCU or in the comics. This has been a consistent standard for the character for decades. Steve Rogers in the MCU maintained his sense of integrity and morality while being displaced in the modern world, where government agencies and organizations are shown to be susceptible to corruption. If something is being done in a way he doesn't agree with, Steve Rogers will stand against that, regardless of who's in power.
We're way ahead of the curve by holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection. This isn't freedom. This is fear.
It's getting damn near past time for you to get with that program, Cap.
Don't hold your breath.
Did people just forget about Civil War? The movie where Cap and a handful of other heroes opposed the US government and the Sokovia Accords, going out of his way to be labeled a war criminal by the end for helping Bucky. Sam was just one of the heroes who were locked away in the raft for a brief period. Him, Steve, and Natasha were literally on the run from the US government for 2 goddamn years afterwards. Captain America standing against American authority when necessary is a staple to who he is as a character, regardless if we're talking comics or the MCU. The innate goodness of someone is more emblematic of them being worthy of Captain America, not just because they're associated with the country itself. This has been crystal clear since the first Avenger.
The serum amplifies everything that is inside, so good becomes great, bad becomes worse. This is why you were chosen.
You must promise me one thing, that you will stay who you are.
Not a perfect soldier, a good man.
Security Council, it's not SHIELD, it's not Hydra.
No, but it's run by people with agendas, and agendas change. If we sign this, we surrender our right to choose. What if there's somewhere we need to go, and they don't let us? We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are still our own.
Wanda, what about Wanda? She's fine. She's confined to the compound currently. Vision's keeping her company.
Oh, God, Tony.
She's not a U.S. citizen, and they don't grant visas to weapons of mass destruction.
She's a kid.
Give me a break!
I'm doing what has to be done to stave off something worse.
You keep telling yourself that.
Most of these imbeciles lack the media literacy to recall when Steve Rogers represented just in the MCU alone, not even taking into account the comics. And the funniest thing about the backlash towards Anthony Mackie is that Chris Evans himself said pretty much the exact same thing in an interview all the way back in 2011, going on to explain how it just so happens that the character was created in America during wartime when there was a common enemy. The first Avenger isn't supposed to be this flag-waving movie. Steve Rogers isn't meant to be a symbol of blind patriotism. Instead, Captain America represents broader ideals like goodness and fighting against undeniable evil, like the German soldiers during World War II. In all honesty, Sam being handed the shield by Steve at the end of Endgame makes perfect sense. It's not like Sam Wilson was this random black guy that decided to be the next Captain America who had no connections or ties to Steve Rogers and lacked the knowledge on what it means to take up that mantle. That's sort of the problem with some newer legacy characters, as they're practically original characters with no historical significance to the original character's lore. But Sam in the MCU isn't that at all. He's been a trustworthy companion and has been by Steve's side since the Winter Soldier. Steve has seen firsthand what Sam is capable of and the goodness he has within him. Sam has been imprisoned for Steve's cause and labeled a criminal, having to escape sight of the US for 2 years.
I just want to make sure we consider all our options. The people that shoot at you usually wind up shooting at me.
Not to mention, the idea of Sam Wilson even becoming Captain America in the first place occurred 7 years prior to the release of Avengers Endgame in the comics. So Sam Wilson becoming the next Captain America once Chris Evans left was inevitable. And he's still kicking it as Captain America to this day in modern comics. It wasn't a short one and done like with other heroes in Marvel or DC. My only hope is that Sam Wilson gets to shine more in quality projects to demonstrate his capacity to be a good Captain America. Captain America Brave New World as a movie is just fine. It's serviceable, nothing remarkable. The movie's not complete dog doo-doo, but it's nothing to write home about.
I mean, it's alright, like...
There are a couple of characters in the script that don't really serve much narrative purpose, and if you remove them from the movie entirely, not much changes. Like President Ross's head of security, Ruth, she has decent screen time but doesn't actually contribute much to the plot since there's nothing innately unique about her. Same thing for Giancarlo Esposito's character. with the difference being that he's not even in the movie all that much. I don't know why they didn't just use Sharon Carter if they needed a spy lady or something. The end of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier showed Sharon Carter as the power broker being allowed back into the US, and there has been no follow-up on that whatsoever. It's pretty funny how they brought back Tim Blake Nelson's character all the way back from the 2008 Hulk movie, only to be a pretty underwhelming villain in my opinion. More and more Hulk related characters are getting fumbled in the MCU. At least the fight between Captain America and Red Hulk was pretty cool though. To be honest, Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford carried the whole movie. The movie showcased how competent Sam Wilson is as the new Captain America. I think he does the job well. Even if you have problems with the film, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson ain't one of them. The story feels lacking in certain areas, which I think is emblematic of the reshoots the movie went through and the entire third act being rewritten. Ruth's character was initially going to be a mutant and an Israeli government spy or something before they altered her character in the final product. The movie isn't vital or essential MCU viewing. If you were on the fence on possibly missing any context for the wider MCU by not seeing this movie, you won't be missing anything of importance. You don't have to like him as the new Captain America, you don't have to care for it. Maybe you would have preferred him having a better sense of identity as the Falcon. But the people hating on Anthony Mackie clearly have no understanding of Captain America as a character, whether it's Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson taking up the mantle. It's not like he's going away anytime soon. He's set to lead the Avengers in Doomsday. Given what's been teased in Brave New World, that makes sense. The fact that Chris Evans shared the same mentality on what Captain America represents and nobody batted an eye, compared to the man babies throwing hissy fits at Anthony Mackie reiterating that same mindset, speaks volumes on people wanting to make negatives out of nothing. But hey, whatever floats your boat, I guess.